Welcome to Milking the Franchise, the Cash Cow Chronicles, where me and Chris watch movies.
Who's gonna go longer? Movies.
That was so spooky.
That was so spooky.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Chris,
it's
welcome.
like there's an F5 on our tail. Yeah.
Fuck. I think that's what F5 stands for.
I think it is.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the show. This is the show where we watch every movie in a franchise. And we exist in that IP. We watch all of the side projects, TV shows, read the books, and play the video games for every... What am I trying to say, Chris?
For every movie in that franchise. Yeah, like Tanner said, we just try and kind of like exist within that little world. We wrapped up Beverly Hills Cop last week, and this week we're doing a little two-parter, a little bit shorter for us, but we're going to watch Twister, and then watch the new Twisters. Yeah, they pluralized that bad boy on Wednesday this week, so we'll be able to talk about that next week. Yeah.
Yeah, big news today.
That's right.
We are in person for the first time.
First time ever.
Looking at each other in the eyes.
Yeah.
First time in a full year.
Maintaining solid eye contact.
My eyes are closed. It makes me uncomfortable making any eye contact. But welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome to Studio
It's
Munch.
It's a thrill to be here, Tanner. This is it's going to be a whole new experience. Every single episode we've done before this one, and probably every single episode we do after this one will be, a whole continent apart. But right now we're sitting across the table from each other.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
Maybe
one day. You never know.
I assume you'll be moving back to Seattle. No.
Don't put that on me right now.
Soon. No. Well, yeah, this is very different. We're going to try to keep it together here. Try not to laugh through the whole episode. Because this is a very serious movie about tornadoes.
Tornadoes.
Yep. Tornadies. What do we do at the top of the show, Chris?
Oh, yeah. One of the things we love to do as part of the show, every week in the show notes, we kind of come up with some questions, some jokes, some bits, some little things that we're hoping you guys will help us riff on. And then we read them at the top of the next episode. And so check the show notes on this episode and help us make some Twister jokes. Get twisted with us, as they say, as the kids say.
By the way, we're playing Twister right now.
Yeah, dude.
In my apartment.
Yeah, that was red hand blue, and you went red. It was way easier move.
I kind of surprised you with this. I'm sorry.
Yeah. We've got a survey that will be in the show notes for this episode. But before we get fully twisted, before we twist it up, we got to talk about our survey from last week, which was on the brand new Beverly Hills Cop movie, Axel F. The final in that franchise.
Absolutely. All right. So, the first question from that survey, we asked you your favorite axopholism, something we talked about a lot during this franchise.
And they brought them back. There were almost none of them in Beverly Hills Cop 3. But
completely missing, yeah.
Yeah.
They forgot.
Maybe they did. Yeah. They had so much amusement park content to fit into that movie, Yeah,
we need more Uncle Dave and less Axel Foley.
Yeah.
So we got a tie between Charming the actor from Jupiter Ascending, which was a fun little moment.
That was a nice scene. I did like that one. Yeah.
And then fake vent escape.
Mm-hmm. He got me. I thought he was up in the vents. I really did. He tricked me. So I gave the vote to that. Yeah.
Perfect. And then what's the best way to reconnect with your estranged daughter?
Yeah, there was a lot of daddy issue stuff in the new Axel F, but I think very effectively so. I think we both enjoyed that movie quite a bit.
Yeah, it wasn't like annoying too much. Yeah, it was like good for the story. But yeah, he was just gone for a lot of the movie, or for a lot of her life.
Yep.
And he would not apologize. So let's see. The best way to reconnect with your daughter? A bunch of push-ups.
Like, impress her. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Be
Yeah.
fucking yoked.
Yeah, dude.
Get yoked for
if
you.
I did 50 push-ups right now, wouldn't you be impressed?
I would let you adopt me. And then we got shoot a bunch of people in front of her. That's always fun.
Love that.
So we had some other options here, like be funny, show up unannounced at her office, ask if she's had intercourse with anyone. We had a lot of fun.
These things all happened in the movie,
Yes.
right? These are the things he was doing instead of apologizing.
And definitely do not apologize ever for anything you've done wrong. Well, he does learn the lesson in the end, doesn't he?
He does.
I think.
Yeah, they grow.
They grow. So in this movie, there's also a scene where you find out he taught his daughter all these crazy...
How to break out of handcuffs, like how to break out of a... It's mostly breaking out of things. Yeah, breaking out of a trunk. Was there anything else that we're missing on that list?
No, but we have some more here that we asked you to write in. We got making up impressions on the spot. Nice. Yeah, that's kind of where I was going to. Pretending to be a gay lover.
Okay. Good.
And lying to get your way. Very good. Tent poles of Axel Foley's
Absolutely.
parenting.
Runs in the family.
Yeah. At one point, there's a rent-a-car that he gets. He can't get a rent-a-car, so he rents a wreck. It's called Rent-a-Wreck.
We like that pun quite a bit.
I mean, they one-off joke, and I thought it was pretty good. He rented this really shitty car. Later on, it just got busted up. I assume that was part of the reason they did that.
Yep.
And we asked you to come up with a different name for that company. We got Junkers and Clunkers.
I like the rhyming,
It's great.
Yeah.
Busted Rent-a-Car.
Good. Busted.
Very low budget Rent-a-Car.
Good. Yep. There's a scale to budget. Yeah.
And then Jalopy Enterprise.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
I couldn't think of a J word. Jalopy, car. I don't even know.
Well, you nailed it here. Let me tell you what.
I'm going to stick with what I wrote there.
Yeah.
And then we got some overall franchise questions. Favorite Beverly Hills Cop movie? The first one is the big winner. And the third one was your least favorite.
Great.
Yep. No argument there.
Not a surprise. No argument.
Favorite partner or cop? We got a tie between Rosewood and Taggart.
Excellent.
The best. Mostly stuff from the first movie, it seems like. Best villain. We got a tie between Victor from the first one and Caleb Grant, or whatever his name was. Cade
Grant. Oh, you like Kevin Bacon.
I voted for that because I couldn't remember any of the other villains.
Okay. I voted for Victor because of his business kimono.
Oh, well, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Dang it. Yeah, Kevin Bacon's just recognizable. I think that's why I voted for that.
Yeah, he was pretty fun, too.
He was good. And then we asked you best end of movie freeze frame. So every movie ends in a freeze frame. That's another tent pole of
Beverly Hills Cop. Yeah.
Yeah. A tie between the first and the second one.
Okay.
Well, you gotta see the survey for that one.
Yeah,
it's kind of a visual.
It's a visual gag on an audio medium. You're welcome. You are welcome.
Where do you want to see the franchise go from here? We got a direct sequel with the gang back together, which I think is happening.
In the works, yeah. And I'm excited to see it after how good this one was.
Yeah. And a gritty Surge origin story.
That's the one that people want. Yeah.
I wonder who would play Surge, because he's a little too old for the origin story.
That's true.
Yeah. I'd like to see how he transitioned from art dealer, like secretary or desk person,
to weapons dealer.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe what's our Wonka guy? Chalamet.
Really?
Yeah. Would he be? Oh. Would he be a good young Serge?
Or Hugh Grant?
Hugh Grant. Is he even younger?
CGI, but like the Oompa Loompa.
Perfect.
CGI as Surge. Andy Serkis, maybe.
Oh, there we go.
So yeah, thanks for taking that survey. That will close the book on Beverly Hills Cop.
All right.
We're going to move out of Beverly Hills and
to middle America, dude.
Somewhere?
Yeah.
Ohio? No, where is this?
No, it's got to be Kansas.
Kansas?
Yeah. Somewhere in Tornado Alley. So Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, kind of down in there somewhere.
Yeah. We watched the movie Twister from 1996. Directed by Jan de Bont. Jan de Bont.
I'm just gonna smile and nod. I can't correct one nor the other. I just saw it written.
Director of Speed.
Oh, okay.
And Speed 2.
Hey, not quite as okay.
So he had Speed was the first one.
Amazing
Then he did
movie.
Twister.
Great.
And then he did Speed 2.
Okay.
And he only did a couple more after that. He did The Haunting and then the Lara Croft Tomb Raider sequel. And then disappeared.
Okay.
From filmmaking, it seems.
This movie fits with Speed, I think. You know, it's like very action-packed, incredibly implausible.
Tornadoes are very fast.
They are very fast. Yeah, the tornado couldn't go under 60 miles an hour.
The entire movie was actually just a panning or like a flyover camera and cars driving. That was the entire movie, wasn't it?
They did do that kind of bit, yeah.
I mean, this movie really does go, though. Like, it's constant that.
Yes,
Yeah,
it is
yeah.
nonstop. It is nonstop action, and I love it for that.
Yeah. So, this is a big disaster movie. Tornadoes. It was early CGI, which I thought was pretty good.
Yeah.
Held up okay.
Yeah.
It didn't
distract me from the movie.
No.
You know, and for 1996, that's pretty good.
Not bad. So where do we start here?
Somewhere in Tornado Alley, Middle America, and it's tornado season in 1969. And we get kind of this flashback before the credits of a young girl with her family running to hide in a tornado shelter. So out behind their house, there's like this tornado shelter. They run inside, latch the door, but it's not a very effective tornado shelter. The latch isn't very strong, and when the tornado comes by, it rips off the door. And in these few short moments, I had developed such a strong attachment to the dad character, who immediately gets sucked out and killed.
Luckily, Toby was saved because I was emotionally involved into Toby's life.
Yeah.
The dad gets taken.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it sets up the
Horrifying.
stakes.
Yeah.
Sets up the stakes. Tornadoes are terrifying. So
It's crazy.
Not
Have you ever
necessarily
seen a tornado?
just the aftermath?
Oh, really?
Yeah, when I did AmeriCorps.
Joplin?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wait. Okay. Tell me just a little bit about. Did you guys go clean up there or something? Is that what you were doing?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We were supposed to go to a different spot in Missouri to do like tornado relief outside of just outside of St. Louis, but this hit like the big. They had a big F5 in 2013.
Yeah,
and and our team got sent out there, and it was super intense. So.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know.
Crazy.
It's kind of funny having that experience and then watching this like super over the top campy movie about the same thing. You know, it's like there's a little bit of a disconnect there, but this is a fun movie, and I think if you watch it with like knowing it's ridiculous, like you're gonna have a good time because it,
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking, can tornadoes actually pick up the things that it picks up in this, or is that like just movie craziness?
Yeah, and like I don't know, I have a lot of like problems with just what they did.
Really?
Also, like how close they always were to the tornado, and it was never windy unless you were like 4 feet away from the tornado. And like the big hallmark of these tornadoes is like 200-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah, it's
right?
like a truck is flying like 10 feet in front of you, but you're fine.
Yeah. You're fine over here because there's like 3 corn stalks between you and the twister. But anyway, so we kind of set the stage with this flashback to this young girl and her family, and then it flashes forward to present day, and we get a peek inside of the National Severe Storm Lab. They don't really revisit that. I can't imagine it's a real place. Like I don't know. When I was there, they like sent a team out with like a trailer, so maybe it's a real thing, but
I'm sure they have people watching it somewhere. But it seemed like a little bit more like upbeat, like it's a
they set it up like
military
Houston,
thing.
like Houston control, like it's like rocket control, like
totally
air traffic control kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But we get a peek in there, and they are kind of worried because this day is looking like there will be, to quote the movie, a record outbreak of tornadoes. So it's not a good time to be. It's wherever they are.
It's crazy how the tornadoes just happen one after another in this movie.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Is that? I don't know a lot about you. I think you probably know more than I do just from going to that Missouri. But I don't know. It seems like it doesn't happen like that.
They can touch down and go back up.
Sure.
But yeah, I feel like it's not like that. Because it's like this, the phrase that kept coming to mind when I was watching this, it's like, this is Jaws from the sky. Like there's this one evil villain.
It's coming right for us.
Right.
It even has some of Jaws' revenge in it, where it's coming to get her specifically.
Yeah, exactly.
It's after me.
Yeah. So anyway, we're in Tornado Alley. We kind of see these people, and then we start to meet our main characters. So the main character is Bill, played by Bill Paxton, not Pullman, who I feel like we'll talk about Bill Paxton quite a bit because he's in Terminator.
Oh, yeah.
He's in Aliens. He's in... I think he's the only actor.
Is he in Terminator?
He's in one of the Terminator movies. I think he's the only actor that's been killed by a Terminator, an Alien, and a Predator. So I imagine we will come back to Bill Paxton at some point here.
I love that.
And but he's the main character, and he's driving out with his new fiance. I believe it's Melissa,
played by Jamie Gertz. She's like an '80s kind of heartthrob.
I mean, she's a dish, man. She's a pretty looking lady.
She was in this show that I watched called Still Standing.
Okay.
For a few years in like high school or whatever.
Yeah.
Not a good show, but...
Not a great character in this movie either. She's
know.
kind of just a wet blanket. That's kind of her whole thing.
I mean, she's terrified, and she should be.
Yeah.
Because these people are insane.
Uh-huh.
But she sticks around for way longer
Way
than she
too
should.
long.
Even if you don't, of course you don't want to be... You shouldn't be there with your future husband chasing tornadoes. Mm-hmm. Well, I won't get too ahead of their relationship, but... you meet all their friends. You get like, let's see, Alan Ruck from Succession and
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Ferris Bueller, Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah,
I don't know where he was in his career, but it's pretty early.
I would imagine. Yeah, It's before he was like a regular Oscar guy.
Was he in Boogie Nights, or am I mistaken?
I think
him
he's in
for
Boogie Nights.
Someone else.
Yeah.
Okay. So those guys are in it. Who else is in that mix? There's some other familiar faces.
I don't know if I recognize the other characters there, but this movie does have a stacked cast. The other main player in this movie is Helen Hunt, who is playing Joe, and so things are tense at the beginning because it sets up that Bill is getting remarried after divorcing Joe, and he's really just driving out not to go chase tornadoes with his old buddies, but actually to get the divorce papers signed so he can move ahead with his new wife.
This whole movie exists on the fact that he's like chasing her down to get his divorce paper signed, and she won't sign it at the beginning. Like that's how it all starts.
Women are like tornadoes. Am I right, Tanner?
I thought for sure that the papers should be signing it, and he gets like sucked up in the tornado.
That would have been great.
Well, I guess we're still married.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you said this, but the little girl in the beginning scene, we find, we don't know if you haven't seen the movie. There's a little girl survives the tornado. Mm-hmm. Her dad dies. That is Joe, because they said Joe at the beginning as well.
Oh, okay, I didn't connect that, but they connect back to it later in the movie.
They talk about it later, but they mention Joe a few times, so you find out this is her later in life, and they're just doing NATO stuff, doing tornadoes. Just NATO stuff.
I thought you were saying NATO like NATO. No, we're doing NADO.
Apostrophe NADO, yeah. There's just a lot of like excitement and just like jargon, tornado jargon happening.
But the big thing is that they, in the time since Bill ended his marriage and ended his job, they went ahead with his greatest invention, and they call it Dorothy. It's like a big... Looked like a beer fermenting tank or something, like a big metal tank on the back of a truck, and it's filled with I don't know,
smoke bombs,
little sensors. They kind of look like a ball pit at a Chuck E. Cheese or something, but with science, like a sciencey ball pit.
Yeah,
yeah.
I assume they're real because they're in the movie.
It's got to be.
It's got to be real. So the thing is, these sensors are supposed to. They're trying to get this machine into the center of the tornado, and these little balls, like hundreds and hundreds of these little sensor balls, will go up into the middle of the tornado, and they can somehow measure and read tornadoes and hopefully learn more about them.
Yep.
Or in this case, learn how to prevent them or stop them altogether, potentially?
I think predict them. I think
Just
that's the
predict them,
idea,
yeah.
right? So then if you know one's coming to your town, you'll have a little more time
It's
to
like-
get to the...
They kept focusing on these little wind chimes as like that was their people's like alarm system for tornadoes.
Yeah,
And these are just like technological wind chimes.
definitely.
Yeah.
Band name. Called it.
All right, what else happens at the beginning?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, we get a little more background on Bill. He has a new truck, and he is now a weatherman, so he's kind of continuing his love for tornadoes in a different field in his new life.
And Joe kind of gives him shit for that.
Oh, definitely.
She doesn't respect it.
He went soft. He left the field. He's not chasing tornadoes anymore. And while they're there, she signs most of the papers and gives them back to him, but there's one blank that she still hasn't signed. And before he can get her to sign the rest of the paperwork, a call comes in on the radio. There's a storm nearby. And, so the whole crew kind of loads up all these janky pickup trucks that they've got, and they hit the road. And
I don't get why hasn't she signed this whole time? It seems weird that she just, I don't know.
A lot about their relationship seems weird.
Yeah.
They go to her family's house later with Bill's new wife. It seems like a very fraught.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. But yeah, so at this point, they don't have the paperwork signed so that Bill and his new wife can go get married. So they have to kind of go along for the chase. And at this point in the movie, Bill keeps insisting that like he doesn't want to do this. This isn't his life anymore. But that changes pretty quick. It's in his blood. He's a storm chaser.
Hell yeah.
Where do we go from there?
Good question. I'm having trouble following my notes because I'm looking at you.
I know.
So, I think, they chase a storm, don't they? For the first time?
Yeah.
Here she comes. I wrote that down.
And a storm comes in. They
yeah.
load up. They take off.
Yeah, and we got our first meeting of Jonas
Jonas.
Miller, played by Carrie Elwes.
Is that how you say that?
Carrie Elwes, yeah.
Okay. He's great. He's great in everything.
Yeah, of course,
But
yeah.
Dread Pirate Robert from Princess Bride and Robin Hood Men in Tights. And here he's just kind
Liar,
of...
liar.
Oh, that's right. Oh, definitely. And Saw. We could go all day.
And that's all I know.
That's all I know, too. But he's the bad guy, the villain in this one. This, I don't know, stacked cast. When I saw him, I was like, dude, this movie has so many good people in it.
Oh, yeah. So they start chasing towards that, and he's like their rival. Chasing, they all have like caravans. This movie is like not so much a Twister movie, but like a caravan movie.
Yeah.
Just constant, just like
Yeah.
lines of cars, two separate lines of cars chasing towards tornadoes.
Yeah.
For 2 straight hours.
Yeah. And go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I love that. Maybe you mentioned this already, sorry. But Bill Pullman only gets sucked into this. Paxton only gets sucked into this because she didn't sign the papers. She gets pulled away. And then he's like, I got to chase her down and have her sign these papers so we can get out of here.
Yep. Yeah.
I just love that it's based all around this.
That's
like,
the
she needs
premise.
one little signature. Like, just scribble it and go.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know. We get a little bit of background on Jonas too. He apparently worked with them as they were coming up through tornado chasing school. Did I phrase that right? So they used to be friends, but he kind of sold out, and so the whole setup is kind of funny too. Like it's very much like the rich kids camp across the lake. Jonas has like all these huge black trucks with like murdered out windows and like clearly much more like funding for his little team.
He's in it for the money and
yeah.
like the fame or whatever of like being the
Yeah.
one who does this, not so much the science of it all. And he has also stolen their prototype.
He has his
Dorothy.
own Dorothy. Yeah.
And it's called DOT3, which
Much more boring, much
Dot
more blacked
3.
out.
Yeah.
But I did think it was funny. All the main difference seemed to be that the shape of the sensors.
they're squares and not circles.
His are little cubes, so it's totally different. He did his
Idiot.
own thing.
You can't do that with cubes.
Nah, dude. What are you thinking?
It's
The
Jason.
geometry's all wrong.
So they all pull off at like a rest stop or something.
Yeah.
And just, I don't even know.
Get in like a physical fight. Like,
Oh, yeah,
Bill
yeah.
Bill Paxton punches Jonas in the face, and it was just like, clearly these are bad dudes. They do not like Jonas.
Yeah.
But I also thought it was funny that he kind of like listed out some of the items on the .3, and it was like, oh, they've got satellite comlink, an onboard pulse Doppler, and XRAD real time. All felt made up, and for me, it just sounded like the Annihilator 2000 from the from the Beverly Hills Cop movie that we just watched a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I was waiting for there to be like a microwave
in there.
Yeah, all that stuff.
So they're at this rest stop, and I guess it's just like they're in a diner doing all their research, right? Or like they're on the computers just in this place.
I think they're trying to figure out where the tornado's going to touch down, or like where they need to go.
They follow it a little ways, and then they're like, all right, we got to stop here and like get our base going. And I don't even know. But I guess you can just loiter like that all day in a restaurant.
Yeah, sure can. They keep bringing you coffee. That's something they don't tell you when you walk in the door.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, also, he's got all this, they make an emphasis on, like, he's got all this technology doing all this stuff, but then Bill Paxton, all he needs to do is just look straight out at the sky.
That's right.
And he knows it's time to go.
He has this, like incredible superhero ability to just look at a storm and figure out, like, which way it's going to turn and, like, where it's heading and where it's
Don't
tracking.
need no science and technology.
No, get that out of here. Get that right out of here.
I got pure instinct.
There's a couple other things that happen at the diner here. Mel and Joe kind of like butt heads a little bit. Like that's very obviously like a very tense relationship between these two women who both love Bill. And then Jonas tries to cozy up to Joe to kind of like steal some of her intel because he wants to. I think kind of use her, but we get that there. And then outside, Bill touches the dirt. He looks out at the sky, and you can tell, like, the gears are turning. Like, he's getting back into the storm chaser mode.
It's time to go.
And it's time to go.
And now we get more chasing.
Mm-hmm. It's the wonder of nature, baby. It's a line that Philip Seymour Hoffman had right here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I just love everyone's enthusiasm. It's like this ragtag group of tornado chasers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
What's his name? Miller? Cary Elwes follows them.
Jonas.
Once they get a little head start, but he's like, all right, we gotta take off. Because really he's just riding their coattails. And we get the chase down towards the tornado. Bill Pullman.
Paxton.
God.
Yeah,
it's
hard.
Bad.
It's hard.
I'm going to write Pax right here.
Yep.
Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt are driving in his truck, and they veer off into the field, and they're trying to like cut it off. She tells him to cut it off, and he like just driving through the field, and he crashes into like this tiny bridge, so they don't quite get in front of it. The plan is to get in front of the tornado and let the thing out, the machine out, and then get those balls in the air or something like that. You have to like lay it in the path of the tornado.
You have to like drop this giant metal canister right in front of the tornado, and then like I guess get out of the way. They aren't very good at that part of the plan ever. They always just stand around and watch it and see what it does. But yeah,
they're looking up while they're just.
But they have to put themselves in like very real danger by getting like right in front of these tornadoes.
One thing
which they do over and over again.
I don't get why. There's a few times where like. There's like 3 or 4 times where the thing doesn't work, right? They try to use their Dorothy and it just doesn't work, or they fuck it up somehow. But the little balls like fall out in the middle and get sucked up in it anyway. Why does it have to be?
I don't know.
In the unit at all?
I don't know.
The I don't know. Fermentation tank thing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I don't understand it either, but I think that's a little bit of the hand waving that you kind of need to just embrace if you're going to enjoy this movie.
Yeah.
So this first one does not go well. Like Tanner mentioned, they crash into a bridge. The tornado sucks up Joe's truck, which is the one that they'd been driving in, and then drops it right on the highway, like later. You know what I mean? Like picks it up, and then Joe and Bill like have a full conversation, and then the weather goes, the weather gets good, and then the car drops on the highway after that, right in front of Melissa,
hundreds of yards away.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, they're under the bridge, just clinging on for dear life, and the tornado just like grazes right past them. They get so lucky.
Yes.
Like inches away from being sucked up in this thing.
Yeah. So it drops her truck, and that kind of freaks out Melissa. You know, she was in one of the other trucks. She was driving behind in Bill's new red truck, and she kind of freaks out. This is like a lot to deal with. You know, she's I don't know. I can empathize
She's a
with
therapist.
her. She's a therapist.
Yeah.
She's here with her husband and
She's not a tornado chaser.
his ex-lover.
Yeah.
His lover.
It's not looking good.
Not looking good. Yeah. And a car. She almost got a truck dropped on top of her truck. You know?
She should have been going, like, I'm just going to go home.
Mm-hmm.
You get those papers signed, do whatever you have to do with these tornadoes. I'm just going to be at home waiting.
Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow.
I'll see you tomorrow, yeah.
It resolves all of this.
So she keeps going on these little trips.
Yeah.
Yeah, so at the end of that, when the truck falls in the street, Helen Hunt is just kind of like, well, we got to continue on. Got to keep going, chasing the storm. And she asks if he has full coverage on his car, implying that we're just going to use your truck.
We're taking
now.
your truck now. Yeah, you're all the way in now.
And they continue on.
And I think Tanner mentioned it. The lead up to this, Bill was able to use his spotting ability to spot this one, and Jonas is relying on all the numbers and the data, and so he doesn't take the right roads, and he misses out entirely. They get really close.
Bad instincts.
Yeah.
And when they're in the red truck here, I noticed they're completely cleaned up, except for maybe a little dirt mark on her cheek or something. But they just went through a really harrowing close call.
Yeah.
And they were covered in dirt and mud and
near-death
just
experience.
Kind of brush it off.
Yeah. I also was wondering here, maybe you can shed
Her
some
shirt
light on
was
this.
a different color, and now it's back to white.
And now it's back to white. The implication here is definitely that these guys have been doing this for a long time, right? They're a crew that's been together. What were they doing before Dorothy? Were they just taking pictures or
Well, I assume there's something that the modern day tornado scientists would do. I don't know what that is. But then they were inventing, because I know this was his prototype, that they could never get working, right, the Dorothy thing, and so he left. I don't know why, but probably because of the divorce.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think there's got to be more than just taking pictures.
Yeah. Because they're trashing cars. There's so much carnage.
And what they should do is get a jetpack or some kind of thing where they can get inside of it themselves, fly around, and be totally fine.
Well, there we go.
Or
That's the tech you need to invent,
a
dude.
metal dome or something where they can just sit inside of it.
Dome or cube?
Dome.
Okay, good call.
You know cubes don't work.
I know. I was testing you, and you passed. So there is another tornado immediately. So they load Dorothy.
Or is it the same one?
Maybe it's the same one. I think tornadoes can come down and then go back up, but there is another immediate need for them to load up Dorothy into Bill's truck and just head out after this other storm.
Tornadoes happen because the Earth starts spinning too fast, right? And
Yeah, like in that Superman movie. Yeah.
So they're in the car. I was going to say that you get some more relationship stuff with because now all three of them are in the car. Bill Paxton.
Yep,
Pax,
got it.
Helen Hunt and Jamie Gertz are all in there, and she's constantly taking phone calls because she's a reproductive therapist is what they called it. Which I don't know
if she's on. I don't know.
Just for reproduction.
Yeah, I mean, maybe people need therapy after that. Who can know?
She's taking these phone calls while chasing storms.
Yeah, it's let it go to the machine. They can leave a voicemail.
You're out of town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's more pressing things on your plate right now. And this tornado, they're kind of again competing with Jonas and his more well-financed team, but again, Bill has this amazing ability to just look at it, and he looks at this tornado and is like, "That one's a Sidewinder." And as soon as he said that, I was like, "That's so badass!" What a cool thing!
Didn't he
to
also
call
it a sister twister?
Oh, that's later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I did love all the little names, like there's tornado types. I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
they
a thing,
have special abilities.
but I kind of hope it's not, and that they just made that stuff up for this movie. So once again, Bill's instincts
Sidewinder, you say, right?
Proving to be better than Jonas's, superior technology. And for this one, Bill kind of makes all the other trucks stop because it's really just theirs that has to get into the path of the tornado to drop off the Dorothy machine. And this one is the sisters.
This is a different one than the Sidewinder, or just the evolution?
Oh, is this? Oh, they get close enough, I think, to see that it's that it's actually two
twisters.
tornadoes spinning together. And yeah, like Tanner said, his new wife Melissa is in the backseat just doing therapy sessions on her phone, and we get our first completely absurd flying thing.
Oh
Yeah,
Love it. And this is the classic thing from this movie.
Yes.
Is the cow going across right in front of the car.
And mooing. This is a fully live, fully healthy cow that's 30 feet off the ground. Yeah.
I didn't even realize the connection to our show with that. Oh, my God.
Yeah. I wonder if it was that cow, the one from our logo.
It's Munch.
It's Munch himself.
Yeah.
Love
it.
This scene to me was so ridiculous because they keep going farther and farther and closer to this tornado with just a civilian, someone who did not agree to this or sign up for this, in the back seat. And like they keep playing it up like Bill Paxton is being a hero through this whole thing. It's like, no, dude, just like let your wife out of the car or like turn around, like maybe get the next one.
Go away.
You know, go.
Yeah.
Like, but it's always like I wrote a couple of these things down. It's like if we can't attack this thing from the back, we're gonna get rolled. Then he goes, watch me, and then hang on and look out. It's like a lot of that stuff, but it's like, dude, just like use the brake. You're
That's
driving
a pretty good Bill
into.
Paxton, by the way.
Thanks, dude. I've been working on it. But he just keeps driving at this tornado. They're just going like just straight into the storm, and yeah, they drive right into the eye of the storm, but they can't get the container open, and the tornado is like kind of right above them, and then. It's not. It just pieces out. It goes back up into the sky. Sky Jaws has disappeared, and they're safe for another moment.
Sky Jaws.
Yeah.
Love that. Yeah. Yeah. Why? I don't know. I don't get the science behind, or like why they can't just let the balls out. Just let it go. Get it sucked up.
Yeah.
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 So the next scene, we get over to Joe's aunt's house, I think.
Yeah, they're apparently near her house, and in the past, she will like cook them food, and so the whole team wants like a nice dinner from Joe's aunt. Is Meg right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So they head to her place, and what happens there?
Oh, they eat some food. They tell some stories about Wild Bill. That's not what his name was, but
Big Stream was what they called him, as is short for extreme, which is an amazing nickname.
Big Stream.
Big Stream.
Oh my God, I missed that. Just a lot of like character building, I guess. You find out this is where, if you didn't pick up on this was the same girl. You find out that Joe's dad died in an F5, and yeah, just get some steaks. You get some family bonding. You get some dynamics.
We do get a story about Bill Paxton. Apparently, one time got really drunk, and there was a tornado outside, and he got out naked and threw a whiskey bottle at it. So, storm chaser stuff.
And he was like right in front of it, and it just like took it away. But he was fine.
He should have just had those little balls ready to go.
His little balls?
Well, Dorothy's little balls, but yes.
Okay. Well, he did have his little balls out. And then there's another tornado. So they didn't even, I don't even think they finished their food. They did say, I hate to eat and run, but she like takes a shower and then they go back out.
And they're back at it again.
So at least they showed her cleaning up this time and not just cutting away to a clean shirt. Let's see. Where do we go from here, Chris?
So this storm that's coming in is an F3. Which is 2 less than an F5, right? So the movie just kind of builds from here. But the
Hold
F3,
on, I'm doing the math.
Yeah.
Okay.
Carry the 0, and you're there.
Okay.
And so this one, they pull through a cornfield, and they catch up to Jonas again. They're heading in the same way. And again, Bill reads the storm better than Jonas does. They turn off. And this one was kind of funny because it's like, they're like, oh, on all the readings, it says the tornado's right over that hill, but I can't see it. And it's like, well...
This was the cloaking one, right?
Is that how tornadoes work? Yeah.
This one would like disappear and reappear.
Yeah. And so it basically is like the hail starts coming down, debris starts coming down, and it kind of is like, is Joe going to go for it? Is this the one they go? And of course they do. Bill has to climb into the back of the truck to prep the machine, which seemed like an OSHA hazard to me. I don't know about you.
OSHA is what again?
The occupational safety.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this isn't even his job right now.
Oh, that's true. He's off the clock.
He's just a rogue NATO hunter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then the balls spill everywhere.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So they fuck up again. This was the one where I was wondering, like, if the balls just spill on the ground, wouldn't that be the same thing as coming out of the Dorothy itself?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
I don't know. Okay. I'm not a NATO scientist.
I'm kind of like my notes are a little disjointed because really this movie I don't know if I emphasized it enough that it's just caravans of cars like for most of the movie.
Yeah.
So this is a huge scene with that. At one point they're in a cone of silence.
Okay.
Did you see that?
I didn't catch that.
That's when it like disappeared, and then they're talking about we've got a jumper.
We got a jumper
here.
Yeah.
So it would like disappear and then like jump out somewhere else.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to say it.
Yeah, it's like a Michael Myers or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's also an explosion through here. The tornado is doing all sorts of crazy shit. And is this the one where it throws the trees at them?
God, I have a huge list of things that... No, this isn't the tree one, I don't think. It's going to jump and dip. Let's see here.
Yeah. And at the end of this one, I don't know. This one I didn't have anything to... Do you have anything on this tornado? Because the big thing with this one is at the end of it, Bill keeps accidentally saying really personal things over the radio, like the CB radio, so they hear him fighting with Joe earlier. And in this scene, everyone hears him kind of proclaim his love for Joe.
The boat.
Including Mel.
The boat flies at them in this one.
Yes.
That's the one, not a giant boat, I guess. More like a dinghy.
You're more like a dinghy. Yes.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is also the part where it's like she reveals that she thinks the tornado is like coming to get her, like finishing the job like a Final Destination movie or something. And he tells her you can't live in the past. I'm here right in front of you, and everything is being transmitted over a CB radio to everyone else. From like 30 feet away in the middle of a storm.
Yeah.
How could they hear that?
Great question.
So Jamie Gertz hears all that. And then it cuts to the center, the tornado watch center, I believe. And it's two people just talking jargon. They said, the inbounds and outbounds have doubled. And if those cells converge...
I hate it when my inbounds and outbounds double.
Oh, my cells are converging. And then we get cut to another big set piece here. So it's at a drive-in theater.
Yep. Somewhere
they're playing The Shining.
They're kind of killing time before they go chase another tornado. And the wind starts picking up. And they have a funny line. It's headed right for us. It's already here.
So yeah, they just keep making it in like this horror movie tropes where it's like got all these abilities. It's coming after them. Yeah. Jaws was a perfect example.
Throws stuff at you. It makes explosions happen. It is like
it's here.
It's a
just
super
can't
being.
See it.
Yeah. And so they hide below ground, and the whole place gets kind of like ripped apart around them. And they head, but the tornado is heading towards this town. They call it Wakita. I doubt that's a real place, but maybe it is. I figured it was like a Wichita thing. But that's the city where Aunt Meg lives, and so they have to like get everything pulled together and go make sure she's safe. But before they take off, Mel has kind of had enough, and she sees that there's still a spark between Bill and his ex-wife. And
she hears it over the CB.
She hears it over the CB. Yep. And so she dumps Bill. So they didn't make it to the altar.
I wrote right before this. I was like, why is she still here? Just like huge letters. Minutes later, they must have been feeling it too, though. Like, there's no reason for this.
Yeah, we got to write her out of this movie.
Yeah. So let's see. It's a giant storm, not quite an F5. I think it like ramps up every time a little bit.
Yeah, we're at 3 or 4 at this point.
Yeah. So they're all running, trying to get underground. It rips up the entire drive-in theater. Oh, she leaves, and then all this starts happening.
Yeah.
Actually, I have her leaving after that.
Well, I think the drive-in gets ripped up.
Yeah.
And then she dumps them, and
She's
then
like,
they go to Aunt
this.
Meg's. Yeah. So, sorry, I think I got a little bit ahead of you here.
Yeah, there's a scene where they get into like an auto shop and they go like down below where they change oils or change the oil, and there's just like at one point one of the guys gets hit with like a tire rim and like slashes his whole forehead. Pretty brutal. Yeah. There's not a whole lot of deaths in this movie, which is surprising, but there's a few.
Jonas gets it, and they made sure he died. Yeah, that death scene, which we will get to, is totally insane.
Yeah, so it shows Meg with her little wind chime tornado alarms. Mm-hmm. So this is her like warning, and it shows her seeing the wind pick up, and then you don't see her again. But they show up at her house a little bit later, and they can't find her. But her house is like collapsing. They get in there.
Yeah,
some
it's like
fun
mid collapse. Yeah, it's like halfway collapsed, and it's on its way out. And they manage to find her, and there's kind of that silly scene with the TV sliding down from the second floor, and it's about to fall and crush Meg, and they get her outside. Yeah. And they even manage to save the dog right before the house fully collapses. And yeah, this tornado has got it out for Joe and her family.
No dogs die in this movie.
No dogs.
They make point of that. Just the cow.
Just that. Well, we don't know that it died. Maybe it landed safely.
It was mooing, just saying hi.
Yeah,
it's true. And yeah, so Meg's fine. She says, I'm fine. You know, she broke her hand. She was just like in a tornado.
Yeah.
But she's fine. I'm going to pause for this fire truck here.
Is that on your end or mine? Jokes.
Hey, that's fun. Something that can only happen live,
That's
right?
Mm-hmm.
So she's like a tough old lady. You know, she's like, I'll be fine. I'm going to drive myself. And one of the guys says, well, your car is in the... I'm going to drive myself to the hospital if I'm going. And he says, your car is parked in a tree around the corner, which I thought was pretty good.
It's a nice joke,
yeah.
Yeah, so as they're leaving here, Joe and Bill kind of see this weird windmill chime thing that Meg had in her front yard, and that gives them a little brainstorm. There's one part of Dorothy... Do you got something for me?
Oh, I was just going to say that she's like, you got to stop it. You got to get out there and stop these tornadoes. Only you can do this kind of thing. So I'm like...
There's a weird way to talk about a tornado.
That's where I'm like, is their goal here is to figure out technology to like bomb tornadoes and stop them from even happening? Because I think that is the plot of the new movie.
Is they figure out how to stop tornadoes?
I think there's something that they're alluding to in that where like they can like bomb it or something from the middle.
I can't wait to see that.
So that's why I was thinking, is this what they're implying they're like trying to do?
Well, like this is the technology they're trying to
only
create.
You can stop it. Like, what do you mean stop it?
Yeah, I have no idea. It's weather, you know? Like, how do you stop the weather?
Yeah.
But through this, they kind of figure that the last piece of the puzzle, so they have all those little ball sensors inside the Dorothy canister. And the last piece to this puzzle is to cut, like, circular cuts out of, like, aluminum cans and then cut those so they have little... like fan windmilly things on them so that they will better be sucked through the tornado. But it seemed like there were a lot of those. That seemed like a really arduous process that would have taken like weeks to do. Like there's like 500 of these things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have the same thing thought while you were watching that?
Not like that. I was just impressed that, you know, thanks to Pepsi, they saved the day.
That's true.
There's a lot of product placement. Pepsi there. How Pepsi stopped the tornado.
Yep.
But yeah, no, that's a lot of cutting aluminum cans. And where'd they get all the cans? And they're all Pepsi.
I don't know.
There's not like a Mountain Dew can in there, or
maybe
a Coke can,
Aunt Meg is just like a real Pepsi fanatic.
She doesn't crush her cans.
I guess she just leaves them cleaned out and just
in
completely
a huge
full
pile.
Yeah, I guess.
Wow. Yeah, so they do that. They attach every ball.
Yep.
They make a little whirly gig or whatever out of it.
Great way to describe that.
Yeah.
And then it's time to get twisted again. They're back after the tornado. This movie is like, it's one of two things. It really is
just nonstop. Tornadoes here. Let's go. And then driving aerial shots of cars, caravans moving. Yeah.
I also, actually, speaking of those, I have a note here. Like they on some of these scenes when the tornado's around, they have these fun like bird's eye drone shots where it like is shooting down at them, and the bird's eye's kind of moving. And I think it's supposed, or at least for me, it looked like it's like a point of view from the tornado. Like they're really trying to make the tornado like a person, like a sentient being. That's
do
like
that with
after
Jaws,
them.
right?
Yeah, but I noticed that like the filming technique, and I was like, that's like. Yeah, that's pretty clever. Like,
it's the fifth character.
It definitely is.
This is the part with the tree hitting the So they're running. They got the new Pepsi can balls, and they're chasing a tornado. This giant tree branch comes, and this one's bigger than ever. And it kind of like gets under their car, so they get stuck. And
the tornado is just like throwing stuff at them at this point, like giant trees. Like one giant tree knocks over the Dorothy, so this one isn't going to work either. And then the next one gets stuck under their car, so they're totally high watered. And then they notice, watching this tornado spin, that there is a giant like petroleum tanker in the tornado. And I mean, this was like so crazy to me because
they're like, "What is that?" And it's a fucking oil tanker.
Yeah, like a huge 16-wheeler, huge thing. But it knocks, like the way it throws the truck, I don't think it works under any definition of like reality.
Yeah.
Because it like bumps their truck enough to get them off of the log that they're on. And then like 10 seconds later, like they have a conversation in the meantime
unlodges them.
Yeah. And then it lands like 100 feet farther down the road and like blocks their escape
in front of them.
Yeah. It gives them a nice little bump and then
hits
way
the
up
back
in
of
the
the
air.
car, gets them off the tree, and then continues on and crashes.
Yes.
Chris, come on.
Okay, you're right. I stand corrected. Thank you, Tanner, for putting me in my place.
Yeah, no, that's one of the crazier moments. The oil tanker. There's what was I going to say? Oh, the Dorothy machine. They had gotten out in the street, laid it down. It was all set up, ready to go.
Yep.
That's when one of the trees hits it and goes under their car. So now they have one Dorothy left.
Yes, they have
Dorothy
burned through
5 or
all
4
of
or
their
whatever.
Dorothys. Yeah, they were down to the last one.
Yeah.
And I think at this point we're all the way up to a F5 tornado, right? The tornado keeps getting more and more powerful.
Yeah, and so they get knocked off. The thing explodes. They're good to go, though.
Yep.
No problem. So they drive right through this exploded tanker truck.
They sure do. Yeah. Well, I think they go around the edge of it, but they drive through the flames of it.
I mean, just basically it's in the middle of the road. I do love, the direct. It was like it was throwing it directly at their car.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like American Gladiators or something.
Yeah.
These two little people trying to sneak up on the tornado.
And we get another the return of Carrie Elwes' character, Miller, I think. And he shows up, and now they're both chasing again to the final tornado, I believe.
Yep.
Which is going to be an F5. But before that happens, I think this is where Carrie Elwes bites the dust.
I think
right?
you might be right. Yeah.
So she's yelling at him, like telling him over CB, because she really just cares about the science at the end of the day. She's giving him info of how to release the things and what to do. You need to anchor it. They say that's the next step that they
hadn't figured out yet.
Figured it out.
Yeah.
What does that mean exactly?
I'm guessing it means that all the little balls need to come out of the metal thing. So again, I think your theory of just putting them on the ground would work fine. But I think you need to anchor down the big metal thing so it sucks the balls out of the metal thing instead of the whole contraption going all at once.
Yeah.
And then, as they're chasing this storm, again, Bill, with his supernatural tornado ability, notices that the storm is going to turn and it might wipe out Jonas and his team. And so he jumps on the radio and tries to have them stop, the tornado's going to get you if it turns the way I think it's going to turn. And then Jonas says, what does he say here? I wrote it down. When I want your opinion, I'll give it to you. Which I don't think is how that phrase works, but it gets the point across.
Yeah. He's just an arrogant prick. He's not listening to anyone.
Yep.
And, it kills him.
Spectacularly.
A steel beam comes flying out of the tornado, straight into the face of the driver, which is not him. He's some other character actor from the 90s I recognize. But so he dies, and instantly I didn't know for sure this was going to happen. But then you see his car in the tornado after, and it just flies and explodes on the ground.
Yeah, and then there's this super cheesy, the explosion was the cheesiest, CGI part of the whole movie for me. But it was so funny. It was it was just like a competing meteorologist, and they gave him the most grisly death in this movie.
That's what you get for not having instincts.
I guess so.
They also mentioned that the tornado is a mile wide during this.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
That's a big storm.
A mile-wide base.
Yeah.
So this thing is just wrecking through this. Well, There's not a whole lot around, but
Yeah, they're kind of in the middle of
Thank
cornfields, but
I should have put this movie in like a big city. That would have been more.
Well, maybe that's what the
That'd have
second
been
one
wild.
is. Well,
Yeah.
those are, I don't know. There's some tragedy there, and you can kind of ignore when you're doing this in cornfields. Yeah.
Okay,
and
we get
then-
another crazy set piece.
Oh,
after
this set piece is insane. This driving
This
scene.
might be my favorite one.
Totally. So to this point in the movie, it's been throwing trucks and boats and cars and
Cows.
and tires and rocks
And
and
Carrie
boards
Elwes.
and Carrie Elwes. But here it really goes fully off the rails. They're driving down a straight road, and it's just one thing after the next that this storm is like putting in their way.
Oh, yeah,
for
they're
them to
dodging
drive around.
tractors like left and right.
Yeah,
or maybe
yeah.
that's a little bit later.
No, this is the scene. It drops a tractor right in front of them, and then a harvester, and then do you want to take the coup de grace here, Tanner?
Yeah, an entire house. Why not? And the kitchen sink
Rolls
inside of it.
from off screen onto the highway. It like sneaks up from behind
It's
a tree.
intact.
It's fully
like the whole
intact.
house
Yeah.
has been picked up intact.
Yes.
Flying in the tornado.
Amazing.
Right at the last second, they drive through
They
it.
floor it. Yeah,
But
they're-
not in the tornado. It gets thrown out of the tornado. Or
it's weird because like
Or is
the
it still part
tornado's
of the
chasing them.
Yeah.
And they're driving, and then it gets like pushed in front of them. So it's like the only part in the movie where there's like wind away
and yet
from the tornado.
Their car is never getting picked up.
no,
ever.
exactly. But it moves a whole house off its like
An entire house.
it's like a 2-story huge house.
How
and
are they going to
drive-
top that in the sequel? Like, how can you top an entire house?
Great question.
A whole city flying in the tornado.
I don't know.
But then they drive through it.
Yes.
Like on its side, I guess, right? Or
Yeah.
They drive like up the stairs.
Which I don't think worked with how the house was oriented, but that's okay. You
Yeah.
can't nitpick everything.
It's like
and this movie's so much fun. You know?
Internal shots of their car like driving through bedrooms and
Yes.
rooms in the house.
Yeah.
It's like inside of the house.
The house was perfectly like preserved, even though it was completely ripped off
the
its
bed's
hinges.
just normal. Yeah, it
Yeah.
just looks like a normal bedroom.
Yeah, and
That's
they
so
bust
true.
through with their truck.
And out the other side.
Yep.
Oh yeah, it's
And then
so fun.
This is kind of the final showdown with this tornado, and it's just as amazing and ridiculous as the rest of this movie. Their plan is to basically just drive the truck into the tornado, and so
Should have done that earlier.
I mean, they had a trashy truck. You know, they're ruining Bill's brand new truck, his
Seems
new
obvious.
meteorologist truck. But anyway, so they basically set the cruise control, and they drive out into this cornfield where the storm is, and at the last possible moment, they like jump out of the truck, and the truck drives into the tornado. And again, this is like. I don't know. Great scene. But they're like 100 feet from an F5, and they're just standing there watching it
they're
to
watching
see
it
if
after.
it works. And it's
Yeah.
like, you guys need to get out of there.
Like,
well,
run.
and it's picking up. If it's picking up a house, you are just like a little person, and you're 100 feet away from this thing.
But luckily, it does work.
It does
The
work.
Pepsi balls activate and
Yep.
goes up, and they
All the
still
little
stand and
spinnies.
watch it. Even after they get confirmation that it's in the air.
Yes.
They're communing. Are they still able to talk to the people back at base somehow?
Great question.
I thought they were.
I don't know.
It seems like everyone can always hear them talking no matter what.
Yes,
in this
exactly.
movie. So the Pepsi balls go up. They circle around the tornado. You get a bunch of shots of graphs and numbers on computers and
Yep.
all the sciencey stuff.
They got all their graphs and all their numbers, so they're good to go now.
So everyone's excited back at NATO camp. But Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt are standing there watching, and oh shit, we gotta run through a cornfield to a barn. They say let's hide in the barn. They see a bunch of horses who magically survive the storm. The horses.
Do they? Does it show them
It
after?
shows them after with when the family
Oh,
exits.
okay. I don't know how they
horses are
survived.
still there.
I thought that barn was funny because there were like a bunch of knives hanging. It was like
Yes,
it was
that
like
they
yeah.
had a joke. Like nope, not in here. or
not in
something.
here, and they immediately run out. But it's like like I don't know, maybe they're just it's a
Machetes and
slaughterhouse
stuff,
or
I
something.
think?
Yeah, but
Probably.
so many like hanging knives in there.
Yeah.
So they bail. They run.
It gets
through-
destroyed,
Yeah,
of course.
totally gets ripped up, and they run through like this field. I did think it was funny. Like a few of these shots, they did a good job of showing the wind moving. It's like sunflowers from my memory.
It was a
this in this scene.
cornfield, I believe.
Oh, was it cornfield too? I thought it was a sunflowers.
I thought it was a cornfield.
Okay, whatever it was, most of the plants aren't moving. It's like, they just shot it in just a normal cornfield or whatever.
From signs or whatever.
Yeah.
Where they're running through the cornfield.
Yeah. But like the tornado, an F5 with 200-mile-an-hour winds is like not moving these things. They're just like running through. And there's one point where it throws a barn at them, the tornado does, and they just kind of duck and keep running.
This is the dodging tractors part that I was thinking of, though, because that was happening before.
Yes.
But this is on foot. Dodging.
Now they're on foot, yes.
They're coming at it. They roll under it. They're dodging like left and right.
Yeah.
Tractors are falling side by side.
Yeah.
Not to mention, I mean, okay, they're throwing huge shit at these people the whole movie.
Yeah.
But think about just like a piece of wood or a nail or like a little rock getting whipped up that fast, hitting you in the head. Anything could just kill you.
I thought that for the final scene, which we'll get to in a minute, because they're like totally exposed in these 200-mile-an-hour winds, and they was throwing these huge things. Like if one of those bumps them, dead. You know? Yeah.
Well, they say like a penny. You drop a penny from the Empire State Building, lands on your head, could kill you. That like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anything going that fast would have hit you.
If you dropped an Empire State Building into that tornado, it would have killed you. That's a fact.
That's an idea for the second movie.
It's in Manhattan.
I mean, I hope so. Where else can they go?
Twisted in Manhattan. That's
Space.
the name of the sequel that I'm going to pitch. Yeah.
That'd be so funny.
What's left in this movie? We're getting pretty close to the end. They've escaped the barn. They're running on foot through a bunch of fields that aren't affected by the wind, and they manage to find like a little shed. So there's one other building out there.
Not a barn, but it's like a little. There's like pipes in it. I don't know.
It might be a pump room for a well or something. That was kind of what I was thinking what it was, because then it had that big pipe in there.
Yeah, they said it goes down about 30 feet. So I was like, oh, okay, they're going to go down underground 30 feet. But no, they just tie themselves to the pipes that go down 30 feet.
Right.
But they're on the surface level.
They're lucky that there's just leather straps in that shed.
Well, how else do you get your water out?
Oh, you're right.
You
A leather
strap.
Yeah. I leather strap on, and then I get my water. I do that each day.
I do this every day.
So they strap themselves to this metal pipe, and then like
also they must be really good at tying like really efficient knots.
Yeah,
because
no, because the storm immediately shows up, rips the little shed completely apart, rips the roof off, the foundation, the whole thing, and they're strapped to this pipe. And like as the winds are blowing and the tornado's going, it like pulls them off the ground. They're being like sucked into the tornado.
Yeah, they're upside down, completely tethered.
Yep, but they're tethered with these leather straps in this big pipe. And we get the shot up through the tornado was pretty cool.
It's like the eye of the
storm.
They're in the middle of it.
You watch it kind of go overhead.
They're just watching. They love to watch.
Real voyeurs, these storm chasers.
What was his nickname?
Big Stream.
Big Stream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Speaking of big streams, so the tornado passes over them and immediately dissipates as soon as it passes through.
Turns into a beautiful day. Like immediately. Sunshine, butterflies, birds chirping. Yeah.
But my big stream segue was because one of the pipes burst during that, and then they have their final little together moment. The husband and wife or whatever together again. But they have to be wet for some reason. It's like they had to be wet.
Yeah, it makes it look like they went through something more when they're dripping wet. Yeah.
I mean, they could have just been wet from the storm, but
maybe they're wet from each other, Tanner. What do you think about
now
that?
They are.
Yeah, dude. That's what I'm talking about.
Get a little closer, talk all dulcet into that. So you get a little there's a family at this house that they showed up at, and they all survived. They walk out of their bunker. The horses run away. Somehow they managed. They didn't hide anywhere, but they didn't get sucked up either.
That's right.
So if you're a dog or a horse, I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to be sucked up. Like animals aren't allowed to be killed unless it's a cow.
Right. And people aren't allowed to be killed unless it's Jonas.
Well, there's this. I'm thinking about guy. They made a point of showing the dogs and like horses survive.
Yeah.
And I know that there was a thing for a long time in movies where you can't show dogs being killed in a movie. That's like.
I think that's a reasonable
big
rule.
no-no.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if it's a realistic thing, John Wick has that moment where it's like that literally starts his entire
the whole
four-movie franchise.
Yes, exactly right.
I don't know. moments like that.
Is that your
like,
qualm with this? Is that your problem with this movie? Is they didn't kill enough dogs?
Have to make sure
Tanner's a monster. You all heard that. You all heard him say it.
Make sure to save the dog every time, just so you know the dog is okay.
Dog's okay.
It could just not even show it because it's kind of unrealistic to always be saving the dog, and yet people are like lesser on the totem pole.
Fair,
but anyway, that's not my hill that I'm going to die on. But anyways, what else happens there at the end?
Yeah, they kind of argue. You can tell that that's kind of their relationship. It's kind of back and forth, but it's hot this time, and it's wet because of the pipe that broke. And they kind of reconnect, and they get all their friends show up and interrupt their kiss, but they kiss anyway, baby. And it kind of like pulls away. We get another tornado shot as they're just making out, and that's the end of the
tornado
movie.
Shot. Oh, like
the drone shot, like the bird's eye thing.
Yeah, it zooms out on all the destruction there, and but everyone's all excited. I know a lot was happening, but they're so excited because science has been advanced.
They got their graphs, they got their numbers,
and they got their love and their wet kisses.
Ooh,
those wet little
pretty good
kisses.
Day. Pretty good day.
Yeah, that's the movie.
Done got twisted.
Just in time for Twisters.
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised that there was a twin, like a double Twister in this movie, because I thought that's where the next movie.
That's where That's how you do the sequel.
Yeah,
you make it bigger by making
it's called
it a
Twisters.
Double. Yeah.
But they already had it in the first one.
Yeah.
Chris,
Tanner,
did you like the movie?
This movie is fun as shit. It has so much momentum. It has so many fun actors. It's produced by Spielberg and it's written by Michael Crichton, and I'll talk about him a little later because I did some Wikipedia deep diving with him. But it's just super fun. It's as implausible and as many ridiculous plot holes as this thing has. It is still just such a fun watch, and I loved coming back and watching this. I have a lot of memories, like as a kid, of it being on TV, and so I feel like I've certainly seen the whole thing a couple times, but it was like a fun nostalgia seeing, Paxton and Helen Hunt out there killing it. And I don't know. It's ridiculous. It's over the top. It's implausible. And I still loved watching it. What did you think about it?
Yeah, a lot of fun. It's not like my favorite movie of all time. It's not like...
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's my favorite destruction movie of all time, but it's super fun. Yeah, like I said, it's constantly just going. Go, go, go. You're following these cars. You're chasing tornadoes the entire movie.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's only, there's 4 or 5-minute breaks of, like talking in between, like, all the craziness, which is great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think it's definitely a fun movie. And I also remembered it a lot from my childhood. I must have seen it pretty young, and I kept remembering all these little scenes and moments, so it's kind of nice to revisit it after all this time. I don't think the CGI was distracting or bad because it's so old, I think
it was distracting because it was ridiculous, and they were making you look at a flying cow. But, that's the allure, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is, right after Jurassic Park when CGI was, new still, but it was good enough, It wasn't like the 80s cheese. It's right in that sweet spot.
Definitely.
Before it went over the top, too, which looks more fake, I think. But, Chris, do you think this is a time capsule or is it timeless?
Oh, definitely a time capsule. This
so?
is, such a 90s movie. Every part of it. I don't know. They had some really good people attached to it, but it's it feels like a 90s movie. It's some of the biggest names in the 90s movie making, Spielberg and Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt. And... I feel like they don't make movies this implausible anymore. It's or maybe not big budget ones, I feel like this was from a specific time
and yet
of Hollywood.
Twisters comes out tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe they do. Maybe I'm full of shit. Maybe just don't listen to me. I would say time capsule. It just feels like such a 90s movie, but that was kind of part of why I enjoyed watching it so much, is it really did feel like a movie of my childhood. What did you think?
Time capsule for sure, but that's not in a negative way, because sometimes I think time capsule, when we say time capsule, we mean it's it belongs and should stay where it was.
Yeah,
but I think you can still watch it today.
Yeah,
it just isn't it's not a timeless classic that everyone needs to see.
Yeah,
but if you happen to see it, you'll probably have a good time.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at with
and
it.
it's a little snapshot of what movie making was like in this little window.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see. Do you think it deserves a sequel?
Well, it's getting one. We're watching it on Wednesday in 4D. One of the reasons I'm here in the room with Tanner, so we can go see this thing together.
It's going to be wet and windy in there.
Yeah. I'm excited for it. I did think, tornadoes are terrifying, like, in real life. And I think that this, especially for, like, a big part of the United States, like, these are, like, a very real thing that you learn about as kids, and you like have tornado plans and all that stuff. So like that's a pretty good thing to make a horror movie about. Did they need to make it Jaws from the Sky style? I don't know, but
would you call this a horror movie though?
Well, it has like a horror villain.
I mean, of course,
it's kind of like when we watched I Know What You Did Last Summer. It's like the guy with the hook just keeps following them and keeps coming, and that's kind of what the tornado did here. But I guess they were like chasing it.
It's like a fun like ragtag atmosphere though. It's not like I mean, Jamie Gertz is scared, but she's really the only one that's like that has terror. You know what I mean? The other ones are just like action movie scared. Yeah, if that makes sense. Yeah. I did find it interesting. Speaking of like real tornadoes and stuff, there was a let's see, in Ontario, I guess there was a tornado in May of 1996 that destroyed a drive-in movie theater the day before Twister was supposed to premiere
at that drive-in movie theater.
Drive-in theater. And it destroyed it. And then over the years, it kind of became a legend where it happened during the movie. So the way they tell it now, it's like it becomes this urban legend of like it happened while Twister was playing, but really it happened the day before, which I thought was kind of a fun story.
It's super cool either way. Yeah.
I'm sorry about that truck right there. I should have shut that window.
No worries.
Let's see. So this movie made $495 million on a $88 million budget. So it was a big budget for the time for sure. The post-speed Jan de Bont. Just gets a big budget there and makes a huge hit.
I'm kind of surprised with a return on investment like that they haven't already made a Twisters 2.
Yeah.
Or Twister 2. You know what I mean?
100%.
Like,
they don't even have any direct-to-video sequels, although there's a ton of knockoff movies.
Oh, yeah. Sharknado, like all that stuff owes everything to this movie.
Oh, definitely, yeah. It's got to be, I mean, I'm trying to think of other, like, destruction movies, because it started a wave of, like, Dante's Peak and Volcano and Deep Impact, Armageddon, all these huge, like, Roland Emmerich type movies.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was one of the early ones.
Yeah.
Should have done more research on that, but
yeah, I think it's also. I mean, this came out in '96, and it also, like, in addition to Jan de Bont, the rest of the creative team is the same people who did Jurassic Park. You know what I mean? So, like, get Spielberg and Michael Crichton together, and right after that, like, it's a kind of a no-brainer investment. But yeah, I can't think if they were in. Was this before Independence Day?
Kind of
when did Independence Day come out?
Ooh,
that's the other early one that I'm thinking
right.
of.
It might have been the same year or the year, but it might have been before.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're right. That might have came before. So this movie has a few notable things. Well, it was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Visuals and Sound.
Okay.
But it didn't win. And then it was one of the first movies to be released on DVD.
Oh, that's kind of fun.
Is that fun?
Yeah.
I thought it was fun.
Yeah, it's a fun fact.
Yeah, that's all I really got for the tidbits. I kind of am curious what it lost to. Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
Well, I wanted to talk about Michael Crichton a little bit.
Okay.
Because I read a bunch of his books when I was younger. He wrote Andromeda Strain, and he wrote Sphere and Rising Sun. And those all got turned into movies. But he was so much more prolific than I had ever realized. He also wrote and directed the original Westworld, which the TV show that was on HBO just a couple years ago was based off of.
Was it a movie originally?
It was originally a movie. Yep, and he also all of this kind of came. He went to Harvard Medical School, so he's like a full-on doctor, but decided to pursue writing instead. And it sounds from his Wikipedia that he was like kind of an obsessive, and he worked like a ton. He passed a few years ago, like in the aughts, I think, like 2007, 2008, something like that. And then he also was responsible for ER, and Jurassic Park is obviously his most famous one, but just like such a prolific writer. And I didn't really realize that he wrote this movie with his wife, and I didn't put that together until it showed it in the credits at the end, but it all kind of tracks, because I think a lot of his books are kind of based around some sort of like sci-fi technological thing, like dinosaurs was like messing with biology, and he had one with like Andromeda Strain's all about like a disease, and so it's like they're kind of connected to like medicine or science, but then they're also completely over the top and ridiculous. And I think this was a good example of that. And then I think one of the big complaints about him is one of his last books, which I also read when I was a kid, was called, State of Fear. And that one has gotten him some blowback because he makes, it's a very anti-global warming movie. And he makes the advocates for global warming the bad guys, and then he testified to Congress about global warming not really being a thing.
Really?
And yeah, and so global warming's gotten worse since he died, and so those takes haven't aged super well. But I think it kind of, I don't know, it's just kind of
how does he explain
based in science, but also like not really there. I think that's kind of he found this way of writing and storytelling that I think totally matches with Twister. And so it like once I saw that, I was like, oh god, yeah, this does kind of feel like a Michael Crichton story, just like lots of movement, lots of action, not a ton of character building, but they're like up against something kind of crazy, so yeah, I don't know. Cool. Michael Crichton, R.I.P. Yeah.
Had some good stuff for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hugely, like, way more prolific and way more influential in movies than I had ever realized. I had always kind of just considered him as like a writer, a novelist, and
I know they adapted so many of his books.
Yeah. Well, he directed a bunch of them too. Because he did Westworld, and then the Great Train Robbery he also wrote and directed, and so he is much more involved in film than I had ever given him credit for.
Cool. I do see that Twister lost the Visual Effects Academy Award to Independence Day.
Oh, there we go.
Which came out the same year.
Okay.
After this movie.
Okay.
A few months.
Okay.
So they were neck and neck. It's like, they made that. The CGI was like at a place. They're like, all right, we got to start just blowing shit up.
That's right.
They started destroying everything. Anything else you want to say about Twister? I got just a little bit of milk.
I got no milk this week. I just read up on Michael Crichton. So
that's milk.
Yeah, it was a little bit of milk.
Oh yeah,
but he didn't write a Twister book, so I didn't have anything to read for that.
Somebody did though. There's a novelization of them.
Maybe I need to get into that.
I can't imagine it being more than just like they're driving, just descriptions of how fast they're driving constantly.
Yeah.
And we're chasing.
And we're back up to 50 miles an hour. 55 miles an hour. 60 miles an hour.
Faster. Mm-hmm. I guess the only milk that I really have for this entire thing is, they made a pinball machine for it. That's
fun.
That's kind of fun, but they make those for just about anything.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a theme park ride called Twister Ride It Out.
Ooh, tell me more.
And I watched a little bit of it. It's kind of a letdown, but maybe it was cool at the time. It takes place at the drive-in part of the movie, and it does look kind of cool where they have like smoke going up and they make little twisters in the room because somebody filmed it from like
cool.
in the 90s at some point. Sorry, let me shut that. I should probably shut that window. At one point a cow flies around the room, and you got a big laugh from the audience there. And it was at the Universal Studios Florida until 2006, I believe.
Okay.
When it was 2015, so 20 years about, and then was replaced by a really fun sounding ride called Race Through New York with Jimmy Fallon.
In Florida. Race Through New York with Jimmy Fallon in Florida.
Good call. Yeah, there's not a lot. I'm surprised there's no video game or anything. I can't find a whole lot. It was such a huge hit. Like you said, why was there not a sequel?
Yeah.
Who was holding the rights to this for so long?
I don't know.
Until Glenn Powell came along and they're like, this is the next Bill Pullman. Paxton.
Nice save.
Fuck.
Yeah. Why is it so easy to get those two dudes confused? Because I do that all the time,
It's just a Bill P.
Bill P. Yeah, I think it is. And they were both popular kind of at the same time.
Same time.
Yeah.
Similar. Well, one of them was in Independence Day and the other one's in Twister.
There it is.
Yep. The same exact
time. Same year. Same type of kind of maybe these two movies are why people get them confused.
Could be.
But yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all I got, Chris.
Yeah. Quick little addendum here at the end. Make sure you take a peek at the show notes. We're going to have a survey that goes along with Twister. You don't need to watch the movie to kind of play along. We'll have some jokes and some little prompts for you. Like and subscribe and all those things. And we'll catch up with you guys next week to talk about the brand new sequel with Glenn Powell, Twisters.
Twisters.
It's plural now. It's even scarier.